Hello there. I finally did it. I finally compiled all the data, infographics, and Excel sheets that were supposed to give us an information about what are supposed to be the best plans to grow for money, for efficiency, and I haven't seen a single one that actually made sense to me. So I made one myself. Can you actually see anything? Let me make all of this bold so you can see it. So you can see all the numbers. I'm gonna link this spreadsheet in the description to the video in case you want to take a look at it yourself. So basically what I've done, every single plant, and I have all the data about every single plant, like how many times it needs to be watered, how long does it take to grow, what's the yield, seed price, crop price, location, and then we get into calculations. Now I'm calculating a few very interesting things. Profit per plant when farming alone, and we're farming with 6 farming buddies. Profit per plant, which doesn't matter. Profit per minute, which does matter. And nobody actually managed to calculate correctly as far as I could see. And for example, if you don't do watering like I do, I never water my plants. When I do my pumpkins, I never water them. I just leave them because I know by the time I come back, it's gonna rain a couple of times and they're gonna grow. So if you're willing to save some time and not water, you can actually make more money per minute. So and also the same calculations with 6 farming buddies. I chose 6 because 6 gives you exactly 100% for an extra drop for a crop. So basically you're going to be getting 1 extra crop every single time you farm, and this one is going to make tremendous difference. Now then there is a column that's called body efficiency. Let me hide myself real quick. Body efficiency basically shows you if using a buddy for farming this particular crop makes sense. The higher body efficiency is, the much more important it is to having buddies. For example, well, this one kind of doesn't make sense. The negative one. Ignore the cotton. Cotton is like the dumbest thing in here. For example, if you're farming tomato, you can see that using a buddy will only increase your efficiency by 38%. However, if you're farming potatoes, having a farming buddy with you with 6 total farming buddies, 6 or more, it's going to increase the efficiency even more. I'm just using 6 as a baseline because it's easy to calculate. Basically 1 extra drop guaranteed when you're farming. It could be more or it could be less, but you should strive to have 6 farming buddies anyway. So if you're farming potatoes, you're getting 177% efficiency increase, which is basically you're making 2.7 more times, almost 3 times more money from doing the same exact job just by having a farming buddy with you, when with tomatoes is only 38% extra money. So yeah, I think it's a very important metric. If you not using your farming buddies with some of the most efficient crops, you're wasting insane amounts of money. And also I have a metric here that shows you % of time farming. Now this one is linked with this variable, which is field size. Basically, field size, you can input in here your own field size. How many plants do you have in your farm? And it will show you how much time, how much percentage of a time it's gonna take compared to the growth time. How long it's going to take to plant the field. For example, if you're trying to make an infinite farm, you can use this tool to see what's the size of the field that's going to achieve a perfect infinite field. So basically, if it says 100% here, it means that as soon as you finished harvesting, planting, and watering everything, the field is going to fully regrow and you can just complete this infinitely without any waiting time. Basically, the smaller this number is, for example, 5% for asparagus, it means you're only going to be farming 5%, and 95% of the time, you're going to be doing anything else. So this means these are the plants that have the highest growth time. You can see the lettuce, the sugarcane, the wheat. Basically, you can harvest the field 8 times over by the time. Like, having a field of, let's say, 20 is not enough. Let's put 30 in here. See, so having a field of 30 wheat is enough to be able to harvest it pretty much infinitely. But what you need to do, though, is to plant in patches. You plant like half of your field, fully water it, then plant another half, fully water it, and by the time you do it, your first half will basically be ready. Anyway, this metric is not important. It's just, I just did it for myself for fun. In my opinion, the most important metrics are going to be profit per minute and body efficiency. So let's sort this table by, first of all, if you're alone, profit per minutes, let's see which ones are the highest. And the highest one is going to be pumpkin. I'm going to give you a spoiler. Pumpkin is going to be the highest on every single metric in here, except body efficiency. Potato beats it by a little bit, but it's still 171%. Again, you're losing. You can almost triple your profits from just having a body with you, which is absolutely insane. It doesn't seem this way. You might think, well, I'm probably just doubling it because I'm getting 1 extra pumpkin, but you're getting 1 extra pumpkin for every pumpkin you harvest. And also, none of this takes into account any bonus drops, any golden pumpkins, any of that. That would increase your profits even more, but it also will take time to collect it. Also, the one thing that I'm not taking into account, though, is that it will take time to pick up additional drops from a body. So I'm probably going to revise this table in the future. I'm going to try to calculate how long it takes, for example, to pick up additional drops, and I want to factor that time into this table to see if having a body actually makes sense. But I would say for bodies with efficiency over 100%, which is yellow and green in this table, it's definitely worth it. However, if the body has red, so if it's less than 100%, if you're not doubling your profits, you're probably better off not using a body, because in that case, you will not have to spend time picking up any extra crops. But again, I'll make another column in the future to make specific, precise calculation on if it's worth it to use a body with a specific crop or not. But you can be assured the green ones, absolutely worth it. You're tripling your profits for spending a little bit of extra time. Okay, so let's take a look. I just sorted this by profit per minute when you're farming alone. And pumpkin, so many lists that I've seen have canola almost higher than pumpkin, like number 1, because they never... What this table does that others don't is that it only takes into account work time. Because look at this, I have these variables here that I calculated by harvesting, watering, and planting field of 90 pumpkins, and then I number of seconds I divided by the number of pumpkins to get approximately how long in seconds it takes for every action. And you can also see your field size, but honestly, field size doesn't really change any numbers. I also have a little nice Easter egg in here. If you go to profit per minute, here there is a little bit of calculation, which basically shows if it takes you less than 95%, like if your percent of farming in less than 95%, then you will probably have to come back and water it if you're watering your field. And I calculated that just the part where you need to teleport back and go to your field, it will take you approximately 30 seconds every time. So basically, this bit adds a little bit of time, accounting for trips back to water your plants. But if you're doing infinite farming, and if you're basically, if your percentage is 100%, between 95 and higher, then it doesn't take this into account, because you're always going to be staying there. You're not going to be traveling back and forth. It's a little bit of, like, this doesn't really affect anything. I could literally just replace this and make this like 0 and 0, so it doesn't take into account. If you don't want to take this into account, it doesn't change numbers that much. Okay, so I'm going to set it back to 200 because that's my field size. So, canola. There is a few problems with canola. In my lists is actually very, very low in pretty much every single aspect. It just doesn't seem to be an efficient way to make money if you factor in just the labor time. I do not factor waiting time in this whatsoever because, in my opinion, the profits should be calculated only from the time that you actually spend on the field and not factoring in the time that you're waiting, because you can use the time to do anything else. That's why canola always ends up on the top of the list, because it grows up so fast that most of the time you're just going to end up farming it non-stop. And even in that case, if you just farming it non-stop, yeah, you will make more profits per hour, but you will have to be farming 60 minutes out of that hour. If you can do the same profits with pumpkins, doing, you can see right here pretty much, compare pumpkin with 8,000 coins per minute and canola with 1,300. It's pretty much 6 times. 6 times. You will spend only 10 minutes out of an hour to make the same profits than you will spend a whole hour doing on canola. So canola, absolutely disgustingly bad. There's only a few other vegetables that are lower. But again, I'm taking into account, I'm not counting on waiting time, just the working time. So pumpkin number 1, surprisingly, okra and asparagus, pretty close, very close together in the end. Eggplant, cucumber, leek, all of these are very, very efficient. But again, if you compare leek to pumpkin, pumpkin is it just beats it all. There's no reason not to be farming pumpkins unless you haven't unlocked Forgotten Lands yet. But as soon as you do, switch to that. You can actually see which biome you need. So if you are a beginner, as soon as you unlock Glade of Trust, farm okra. Okra is almost as good as pumpkin, like as close to pumpkin as it gets. Now, let's assume you have 6 farming buddies. Let's calculate, let's sort by profit per minute. It changes a little bit. Okra is not as efficient anymore with the buddies. Now, the eggplant takes the second place. So with a buddy, you'll be able to make 10,000 per minute, which is pretty cool. It's almost as much as you can make alone with pumpkins. But look at the pumpkin number. It's pretty much, it's over the, no, it's double. It's more than double. 8,000 versus 21,000. It's almost triple the amount of money you can make with 6 farming buddies. It's incredible. Eggplant and leek also very close together. 10,000. But again, if you can make 20,000, why on earth would you be making 10,000 per minute if you can just make it much better? And look at this. If you don't water your plants, if you just plant them and just leave and come back the next day, just if you're playing on PC, for example, like I do, just leave the game running on the background. Or some people gave a very nice trick in the comments. I saw if you close the game while it's raining, the game is gonna think that it was raining all the time the game was off. So if you plant your pumpkins and then you see it's raining, turn off the game. Next time you log in, if it's more than 4 hours in the future, your pumpkins are gonna be ready. That's pretty crazy glitch. But I just run my game 24/7 on the background. So I just plant my pumpkins and I don't water them. I just come back the next day or in like 8, 10, 12 hours. And yeah, it's not the most efficient, but I'm not sitting in the game and farming. I'm literally doing the most efficient farming possible. So no watering pumpkins is by far the most efficient way to make money in the game. 30,000 star coins per minute. And if you multiply this by 60, you're making around 2 million per hour. From just pure work. 2 million per hour is better than cooking, is better than anything in this game. It's absolutely ridiculous. And look at this body efficiency. You get one of the highest body efficiencies with pumpkins. You get the highest profit per minute. Pumpkin is just so much ahead. It's ridiculous. And I'm kind of curious if they're ever gonna introduce new biomes. Are the new plants gonna be even more efficient than that? Because that's kind of hard to imagine. If for some reason you don't like pumpkins, you don't want to be farming in Forgotten... You don't have to be farming in Forgotten Lands. That's what my previous video was about. You can be farming anywhere. Just gonna take you 10... Like this... These numbers are already, they're not counting on you farming in a specific biome. That's in any biome. If you're doing this, for example, if you do pumpkins in Forgotten Lands, it's going to be even more profits. I might have a separate column just to see how much more profits would it be if you farm in this in Forgotten Lands. And look at the canola. It's literally, it's in the middle of the list. I also thought, I've seen a lot of people saying tomato. Tomato is even worse than canola. Like, all of these things are just not very efficient from the point of just pure farming. Unless you're absolutely enjoying farming and it's your most favorite activity in the game and you would do nothing else but farm, then that's a different story. For that, you can use all those other infographics that give you the most efficient crops to farm. But if you value your time and you want to do as little farming as possible and still to make as much money as possible, if you don't care about making as much money per day, but you care about spending as least time as possible farming, still making a lot of money, pumpkins with a farming body, no watering. Just farm them, like, one harvest every day. If you have a field of 500 pumpkins, just harvest it once a day and then let it water itself, grow itself by the next time and come back and harvest it again. You're going to be making a couple mil every day. You will not need that much money. There is nothing you can spend this much money in a day. So it's already more than you can possibly imagine. All right, guys, I'm going to link this spreadsheet in the comments if you want to take a look and play with it. And if you find, maybe you find some mistakes in it, because it's possible I made a mistake in some calculations, but it does make sense to me. Basically, you can see that the plants that have actually, look, okra gives you 3 plants, so it's not about it. Actually, the logic, like, you cannot see the logic. Some take 2 waterings, some take 1 watering. Yield is different. Like, it's all about the numbers, and do this without Excel would be impossible. But if you plug all the numbers in, it just shows. I never knew that okra was so high on the list. I knew about eggplant, but okra? I've never seen anybody grow okra, but it's actually not a bad plant to grow. But this is interesting. Look at it. There's a lot of interesting information you can get from this. Let me hide myself so I don't block anything. Look at this. Compare carrot and tomato. If you're doing it with 6 farming buddies, then carrot wins by a lot. However, if you're doing this alone, then tomato wins by a lot. That is a fascinating information. Alright, thank you so much for watching. If this was useful, sorry, no gameplay today, but I think it could be helpful for a lot of players, mostly beginners probably. Yeah, take care, subscribe for more, and goodbye.